Picture yet, but that's okay. Good evening and welcome to our podcast where we're trying to fight CPS and stop taking our children. I have a co-host. I'm Bob Pace from California. My co-host is Danielle from Georgia. And she's a little camera shy right now, so we don't see a picture. There she is. She's camera shy. You look beautiful.
I'm coming.
You look beautiful. Okay,
Thank
we're
you.
here to help you. We are parents. We have children. We had CPS cases, and we're here to share those stories with you and help you with an agency that's so corrupt, not transparent, so deceptive, so much deception in it. And first, I want to thank my producer for getting my picture right. Somehow it wasn't there in my list of things, so we had Mrs. G there for a bit there. But anyway, we got here, fight CPS. That's the theme tonight. And first I want to tell what CPS stands for. I use CPS to stand for the Children Protection System because every state has its own acronym. Arizona Department of Health Services, DHS. In Georgia, it's called what, Danielle? Oh boy. Danielle's
Is yours
frozen.
having
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd ask you.
And did yours go out too?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Because that's weird. They said that there's a lot of traffic and they're trying to figure it out. So we may have just like issues during this podcast. Just letting you know.
You're fine.
They had an error
you're
message
fine,
on top of those StreamYard.
What is your DSS? Excuse me. What is your CPS called in Georgia?
Department of Family and Children's Services, DFCS.
Okay. Every state has it. It's too hard for me to sit here and rattle them all off. So instead of that, DSS. I say Child Protection System, CPS. And that means every state has a branch of social service that deals with the protection of our kids, our children, under 18 of age, from child neglect and abuse, but also supposed to do family reunification. And today I had an interest talk because on the show today I had Carol from Indiana who brought up some interesting things about how it's supposed to be reported to the state. And she was on the show for a good hour. And it was exciting because she filled in a lot of things. We discovered a lot of things. One thing she said, reunification is bad because why is a family broken apart? It shouldn't be reunification.
Right.
That is a wrong terminology because my family, we were great. We're going through hard times. I lost my job, but we had food. We couldn't do the things we used to do. We had to, stay in our home.
Like they should never take them from the home.
Yeah, I was able to keep my home for 7 years until I finally had to sell it. And I had no job for 7 years. It was tough. And
just for them to think my home is not, like I've had it for 5 and it's like they say a stable household. Well, I mean, wouldn't you call that stable? Is staying in the same place and keeping it up for 5 years? I mean,
oh yeah, I think your home looks beautiful. I love the piano. Yeah. I love the piano and the fireplace behind you. It's really beautiful.
Right.
My home with
how to do
walls and plants and lights. Yeah. Okay, we are supposed to help you, and we have a podcast that's different than a lot of podcasts. Some podcasts you just listen, but our podcast is you can interact with us one of several ways. One way is you can text a question to us about your CPS case. All we ask is that, you type in the comments of your CPS questions. We want to focus on the child protection system. Please show your name, city, state, or country, and be complete with your CPS case. Now, when I say be complete, it is nice to know about your case from its beginning, whether there's two parents, a biological parent, or wife and were divorced, or anything else that matter. So um, it's really, really important that you try to get as much details so it keeps us from guessing or constantly asking you the next step, the next step. And so your CPS case may be 3 years old, maybe 2 weeks old. You need to start from the beginning for those that are 3 weeks old because we can see some mistakes or something happens. So you need to bring us fast forward. But please type in a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We really do. Now, I mentioned countries because right now we've had Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, and South America. We've had Mexico, Mozambique in Africa, and we've had Denmark. And those are the countries that have expressed problems with their CPS. They have a similar problem than you all. So our show is open to everybody. Anybody with CPS problems will help. And, we try to take questions. And if I end up missing you, bear with me. I'll get to you, especially if I have someone called in. Right now, we had Rosemarie. She was on earlier. And trial is May 21st, which is next Tuesday. I just got moved to monitor visits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what were your visits before? The foster parents wasn't even told I had gotten monitored visits. So I guess before you didn't have monitored visits. Now you're told you have monitored visits.
The foster parent always let her spend time with her daughter after appointments.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, welcome,
so
Rosemary.
And parents
tell me your city and states. I can't remember everybody, but I don't think you're from Rochester, New York. That's somebody else. But anyway, if you could tell me your city and state, that'd be much appreciated. A second way that you can interface with us is you can call my office number, direct line to my phone, 626-698-0990, and I'll put you on speakerphone so everybody can hear you in the room and we can help you. That's great if you want to talk. You won't be showing your picture, but you'll be on the phone. Now, a third way is that you can schedule a time you want to be on. Maybe you don't want to talk right now, or maybe you want to talk the next day, or maybe you have no privacy and you feel better. But all you have to do is write an email to Grace at VincentWDavis.com. That's Grace at VincentWDavis.com. When you email her, just say you want to be on the Monday morning show, the Thursday evening show. Now, I'm on 14 times a week, twice a day, 7 days a week. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. I'm on at 7 o'clock at night for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time, just like tonight that you found us. And I'm sorry if the notifications are coming out delay. Grace, if you hear me, we've been having trouble with people hearing the notifications almost the show's over. I don't know if that's something that we can control or what, but a lot of people have said they don't receive the notification to 5 minutes left of showtime. So, Grace, if you can look into it, that'd be much appreciated.
I get it 30 minutes into the show.
Yeah, like Danielle gets 30 minutes into the show. Okay. So anyway, you can schedule a time and that would be great. I further want to do is thank Mr. Davis for making this podcast possible. And he can be reached at 888-888-6582. He's a family law attorney. He says for me to announce it every show. I do talk about him later underneath the rules, but he said if you need help, call him at 888-888-6582. And you can talk to him. He wants to help you. He has a podcast like myself, and he's a family lawyer with 35 years. He's a trial attorney. He has fought CPS, and he's won in getting the kids back. He's remarkable. Man, he knows how to fight in dependency court. He also can do civil lawsuits when your case is over, and he can help you collect money from CPS for the damages they did by violating your constitutional and your civil rights.
There's Lori.
You cannot sue the social workers for the aggravation or pain or suffering that you suffered because of that.
There's Lori
because of the case. So, but it's civil suits, monetary, and you're talking millions of dollars. The attorneys sometimes charge 30%. So it's a lot of incentives for attorneys out there. So go ahead.
Can you hear me good today? Today?
You sound great. Ever since you put that microphone on your headset, it worked out great.
Okay.
And I used a headset today when I was podcasting from another location, and everybody could hear me. So it worked out good.
Cool.
So with that being said, Rosemary has some more questions. She still hasn't told me where she's at. I don't know.
Where are you from, Rosemary? What?
The foster parents always let me spend time with my daughter after appointments. Good. My daughter's 4th birthday is in June. All right. And then there's Lori. Welcome, Lori. William Mullins. She's on every day, but she's just a listener. And I don't know who William Mullins is. It might be her son. It may be her husband. It could be her father. But anyway, I'm glad to have you all there. So all of you that are texting in, that is great. I'm glad to have you. And I think at this time, I want to talk about my rules, get them out of the way. And I mentioned finding an attorney. And a lot of you have been saying to me, I can't afford an attorney. I hear you. I could not afford one either. I had to sell my house, after a year and a half to get the money.
Rochester, New York. You were right, Bob.
He was Rochester, New York. I'm so sorry I forgot you.
Her case is going on 15 months, and she has 3 children.
Okay, great. Thank you so much there. But you want to think about getting an attorney. And some of you tell me, oh, I got an attorney. It's a court-appointed attorney. Well, I got some news to tell you. The court-appointed attorneys are a waste of time. They will not defend you. They do the easiest way to get it over with. They're friends with the social worker attorneys. They're friends with the judge. And they have a caseload of 30 or more clients, so they don't have time. They won't meet you ahead of time the day before or 2 days before. They meet only at the time of the hearing. And keep in mind, when you have
we're going to do the clients that pay first before they even worry about the appointed people. Yeah, that's what sucks.
Yeah, the court-appointed attorneys, they're free to you if you qualify. But they really are not there for you because they're trying to do the easiest way out there. So I'm sad to say that another thing, too, if you want to talk in court, you cannot have an attorney represent you, whether it's a paid attorney or a court-appointed attorney, because then you can no longer talk in court. You have to go through your attorneys. That's how courts are run. You can approach the bench and speak to the judge and say, Your Honor, I don't want my court-appointed attorney. I'm going to defend it myself. And that is fine. You can sit there and say, I'm not an attorney, but I want to speak in layman terms. I want to fight my case. There's no law that says you cannot fight your case yourself.
Right.
There's no law. And you should not really try to be a lawyer if you're going to fight them. You don't want to quote things or anything else. You just say how it is. Tell your heart out and tell the judge. And hopefully the judge is an elected judge that represents the people and knows about family reunification and also about neglect, abuse, and neglect with children. My judge was not. My judge was a buffoon. All he knew about was collision claims and auto accidents. That's who was seeing my court, and I was so frustrated. Also, I didn't realize that I needed to get rid of my court-appointed attorney and talk myself. I probably could have done a lot better job than a court-appointed attorney can do. So you're looking for an attorney. The first thing you want to do is search the internet, and you want to phrase your words right. If it's a free attorney, what you do is you put the city. For instance, we have Rosemary here, and you could use her as an example. Find in Rochester, New York, a pro bono family law attorney. It's real simple. It's not very long. Find in Brooklyn, New York, a pro bono family law attorney. Once you see them pop up, you're going to see maybe 5, 10, 15, whatever names. You want to pick 10. If there's only 10, those are the 10 you're going to pick. If there's 15, pick the 10 best by what they describe themselves. Then you're going to call each one of them, all 10 of them. And you're going to find out by first calling to see if they're in business. If they answer, then you answered your question. Second question, you're going to see if they do pro bono work. That means no charge. They will sincerely help you. Third question, have they fought CPS? Fourth question, have they got the children back? Question number 5, have they fought in dependency court? So if you get the answers to yes, those are the ones you want to pick because you're going to call them again and do a consultation with them. You're going to find them. And I want to recommend that you narrow it down to 5 people after you call all 10, and you're going to have a consultation with 5 of them. And one of the 5 should be Vincent W. Davis. And the reason why I say that is I think he's the best in the country that can fight CPS and get your kids back. Now, when you his consultation fee is 30 minutes for $60, $2 a minute. And he will talk to you the ins and outs and the strategies and how to navigate CPS. And it'd be well worth it. It does not lose. You're going to talk to the other 4 attorneys and find out too if they're pro bono and so forth. If you like Vincent and he goes over his fees with you, his fees for fighting CPS, are the same across the country. His only additional fees he charges is per diem and transportation. He needs to fly there and he needs a car to get around. Plus he needs accommodations to stay there. So that's what he'll tack on to his retainer. And it all depends on your case, how complex, how long it's been going on. But he'd be really fair with you. So I really want you to do that now. So another important thing about getting an attorney that a lot of people don't realize, fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. Now, if you know anything about open heart surgery, I don't think you yourself are going to cut open your chest and work on your heart. Are you going to have a layperson cut open your heart? Are you going to have a plumber cut open your heart? No. Or are you going to have an auto mechanic? No. You're going to get a professional doctor, someone that's been to medical school, that, has done an internship, that has followed a doctor as a mentor, that is really experienced. That's the same thing you want to approach with a family law attorney. They have to be a specialist because
somebody that's got a passion for it.
Yeah, because this is the reality of CPS. They're like a spider weaving a web around you, drawing you in. And if you ever remember the story of Alice in Wonderland, she was playing in her backyard and she fell in a hole, a rabbit hole. And the story goes on to tell her that she went to a lot of rooms, a lot of doors, and they opened and they went nowhere. She got a lot of crazy answers like off with your head or some ridiculous thing like that. That's what CPS is. And if you don't believe me, go look at the article in 2022 of 8 social workers wearing pink shirts that said on the front, professional kidnappers. Professional kidnappers. And on the back, it said, parents, do you know where your children are at? Parents, do you know where your children are at? This is in Prescott, Arizona. And yes, they wore it out in public. That was even worse. It was not an inside joke. And you know what the mentality of those thinking people are, those social workers? Just like they are in all 50 states that I've been talking to. I've talked to over 500 people since October from all around the country. And I have talked to a social worker, too, from Maryland. And she told me about her case. I know that social workers are listening to this podcast. Please call in. I want to hear how you guys are fair with your parents, how you do reunification, how you don't take children just because there's an allegation. They're not in extreme danger. CPS lately has been taking children no matter what the condition is, and they lie about it and use deceptions. And so, anyway, please call in to Vincent Davis. Let me give you the phone number here. It's 888-888-6582. And when you call in, just say Bob Pace sent you. And then when you talk to Mr. Davis, say that Bob Pace sent you. Also, if you notice on the bottom of my screen, the ticket run across the bottom, it said consultation with attorney Vincent Davis, care of Bob Pace, candidly.com/law office of Vincent W. Davis /Bob Pace. So, that is how you can sign up for that. So, now we did lose Danielle, but she said they're having some trouble with the internet. I'm still with you guys. So Danielle, there she is. Welcome back, Danielle. You disappeared for a while. No. It's the internet.
I'm wondering if.
So anyway, that's rule number one. And there's no excuse why you can't find an attorney, whether you pay for one or whether you get one that's pro bono. And right now, I'm telling you about a sweet deal, $60 for 30 minutes to talk to Vincent Davis. That is the sweetest deal. I wish I'd known about that. It took me a year and a half. I tried to fight CPS. It was in Orange County, California. And I met with the top dog. My wife and I met with the top dog. And it went in one ear, went out the other ear. He has a Taj Mahal in an office building, so you know where the money's going. It also looks like the Emerald City of Oz. You probably say, well, gee, Bob has talked now, Alice in Wonderland, the Wizard of Oz, the Taj Mahal. Well, I'm trying to use examples, like the social workers in the pink shirts, so that you realize that you're dealing with a dangerous entity. There's no compassion for seniors, no compassion for elders, no compassion for parents. They try to alienate your children. They do put you in foster care. Stupid things. Our kids were not in danger when they came in. Our kids were in school. I just picked up my son. And they went and took him that day and said, we got to take care of parents because there's neglect. Your parents' belongings are all over the place. My parents were dying. I was sorting things. I had boxes stacked and furniture stacked. But they went ahead and said, oh, they're in extreme danger. Like the boxes are going to run upstairs. Their bedrooms were clean. They had a bed to sleep. They had clothes to wear. They had food and meals, and they were doing good in school. So they took. And if I knew now what I knew now, they would never have taken our children. We've never had to go through all this. Because that's going to lead me into rule number 3. I'm going to skip rule number 2 for a moment if you guys are keeping track. But rule number 3 is so important. It's so important that you say no to social workers, no to police. Don't let them in your home, and don't let them medically take your children. That's medical trafficking. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, here's another picture. I've talked about the pink ladies in Prescott, Arizona. Okay, I've talked about Alice in Wonderland. But here's another metal picture I want you to think of. A young 24-year-old man who is a veteran in the Air Force. He's an airman. And he was at home in his apartment, a well-to-do apartment. It wasn't a shag of a place. And he was talking to his girlfriend on, what do you call it, watch time or FaceTime, which is a video application. You can talk to another person on the phone. And he was doing that. Well, what happened was a complaint was lodged to the police department of some ruckus going on. Now, there's still been no firm ruling, but they don't know if the policeman, the sheriff, had gone to the wrong apartment. He came into a lock complex, met the manager, the office manager, and she took him to where the sheriff says the complaint was. The office manager says, I'm not sure if that's the right place, but he she led him up the stairs. He got to the door. And this is the part that I don't understand policemen. And if any policemen listen carefully. I respect you policemen out there. We need you. But use some common sense. If you're going to want to speak to someone behind a door that is locked, you don't sit there and knock and not say anything and then knock again and say, all right, sheriff, come out. No, what you need to do is you need to talk calmly, because whoever's behind the door is probably not calm because you've already alerted them by knocking on the door. And what you can do is stay to the side of the door. Tell the person, if someone's behind that door, I want you to unlock the door, and then I want you to lay face down with your hands behind your head. And if you have any kind of weapon, throw it aside so I can see the weapon and see you. And so he didn't do this. Instead, he stood in front of the door, which is a stupid thing because people have been shot that way. That guy could have shot him before the door was open. So anyway, the guy that heard all this opens the door. Now he's standing about 2 feet away from the sheriff. He does have a gun in his hand because first he had a license. He had a permit for that gun. And he was worried that someone was coming to get him. He was worried about his safety. And the gun was down at his side.
And
the sheriff didn't think twice about shooting the guy in the foot, shooting his hand, shoot him in the arm. So temporarily put him down. I don't know why police go to learn how to fire guns if they can't put someone temporarily down. You have a laser, a taser.
There's other ways that they don't.
They work too. I've seen too many people sit there and shake all over the place. But he didn't think that. He shot several times, not one shot, but several shots, and that guy was shot.
I mean, you got to think there was probably 6 or 7 of them up to that one guy, and that's messed up.
And then he is the guy that got shot is talking to his girlfriend as he slowly dies. He says to her, "I will miss you. I'm dying. I have been hurt." And the sheriff very gruffly says, "Roll over." And and he calls 911. We got a man down. But that all could have been avoided if the sheriff used common sense. Don't greet at the door. Be at the side.
Don't use deadly force.
And when the door is unlocked, then slowly open the door, and then slowly peer around below or something beyond where someone could shoot you. Be careful, sheriff. I don't want you dead, but there's no need to kill somebody. No. You could have saw him and said, "Drop your gun." If he drops your gun, then what you can do is that, you can do your thing about finding out what the disturbance is. But I want you all to have that mental picture in your head. A young man who just graduated from college at 19 at high school, and he's serving the United States Air Force as an airman. Excellent thing. He's doing nothing wrong. This is a picture of him. He's a black man, a black boy.
In Florida, right?
Yeah, and he's Florida, in Gainesville, Florida. This is on the news. All you do is type in, 24-year-old airman gunned down. And then, the sheriff, the chief sheriff is saying, well, we think it's the right place. And the sheriff was not mistaken. But the way he approached him was wrong. It is wrong. You don't, and this happens time after time when people open doors. And I want you all to know that. Do not open your door. If you hear a knock at the door, you got a peephole, but be very careful. I'd go another part of the house and wait for a phone call, or maybe after half an hour, they're gone. And you go out and see if they left a business card.
They probably got the house. I'm pretty sure if it's a home, they probably have it surrounded anyways. More than likely, they probably got out all the. And that's what sucks too, because you're outnumbered.
The rule is you don't open the door, and especially if nothing's going on. If there's no shooting going on, no yelling, no one being slammed against the wall, then they're not going to bust the door down. They can't. It's against your civil rights. Your home is your castle. They have to have a court order, which is a warrant that said they have the right to search your home, the right to enter your home. That same thing goes for children. If you have a CPS worker show up your door, they knock on the door, you open it, and there's a policeman who's very intimidated. An officer is sitting there very intimidated with his battle fatigues, combat boots, looking really mean at you, like you did something terrible. Don't let them in. First of all, don't open the door, number one. Don't let them in. Don't talk to them. You want to use yes, no answers. If you're ever pulled over by a police, you very carefully put your hands on the steering wheel so they know you don't have a weapon. Then he's going to ask you for your license and your registration. Mm-hmm. And that way you don't say anything. Don't discuss the time of day or, gee, looks nice or anything. You just very pleasant say, yes, officer, no, officer, or yes, no. You don't have to say more than yes, no answers. Right. And if the policeman is trying to press you for more, say, officer, give me a ticket or arrest me. Because they're going to try to tell you to come home to your place. They're going to try, like they did with me. They pulled me over, and it was the detective calling a black and white going the other direction, and they made an allegation. I should have told them, look, write me a ticket for running a stop sign. Mm-hmm. And let me go. I'm not coming home. Unless you have a warrant, I'm not coming home.
Right.
And so I didn't know all this. I was very intimidated. I always respected the law. And as my wife says,
I said, let's go to the police station. Why can't we go there?
Yeah.
Why do we have to go to
my wife says I talk too much. And so
I get told the same thing.
I kind of dug my own grave there because I talked too much to CPS, and I talked to the detective that's investigating, and I made the case worse. I don't know. If I had to do the whole thing, if I knew what I knew now, I would never have lost her daughter. She would never have been kidnapped. My 2 boys were, but Vincent did get the 2 boys back. But I'm telling you right now is that you got to say no to policemen, no to social workers, and don't let them in your home, and don't give them your children. Don't go down to CPS with your children. Don't go down to the Child Protection Services with your children. They'll take your children. And if I was you, I would put your 3 to your children with a relative in another state. I'd find a relative, and I would go to the airport and fly them out there. Because you need to get them away from there and let them try and investigate you without the children. And also, I found out earlier from talking to Carol, the longer you say nothing, the CPS has to have a number on the case report, the petition, and they have to notify the state that there are allegations against you.
Of abuse and neglect.
If they haven't notified the state, then you can say nothing. Because by law, you don't have to say anything to them.
And there's a number you can call and find out the status of your case with the state.
I'm telling you all out there is do not talk to social worker policemen. Do not let them take your children. Do not give them permission to enter your home. And furthermore, medical trafficking, I lump this with this, is because parents will sometimes in the middle of the night have a sick child. They take them to urgent care. And maybe the doctor says something that sounds confusing to the parents. And the parents say, I want to see our pediatrician in the morning. Will our child be okay? I want to get a different opinion. What's been happening lately is CPS workers have been hiding out in the hospital. They get wind that you're refusing medical attention, which you're not, from the doctor. And they take the child at the hospital because you don't know the laws. They say, we're taking your child because you refuse to get help. So I'm telling you, be very careful. Take them to hospitals or someplace you're not familiar with. They should go to their own pediatrician if there's something wrong with them. I know that at 11 o'clock at night, they won't be open. But when you go to the emergency room, just be polite and say to the doctor what he has find out. But if a social worker comes to you, which they always are there, say, I do not want to talk to you.
And when you're at that, like, say if you have to go to the ER and it's after hours for like a pediatrician or whatnot, you can request a kid doctor, a pediatrician instead of the ER doctor, because some of them aren't specialized in certain medicines. Like they may be an ER doctor, but what's their main area, so you have the right to request a pediatrician doctor that deals with a certain age group. I mean, There are, because that's what I learned when I went to the hospital. I mean, you have your the ones that deal with pregnancies, you have the ones that deal with your urologist, stuff like that. So don't ever think that you can't get a kid doctor to. I mean, if it's about your kid, that's what I do, because I mean, maybe the doctor that's reporting it or whatnot with CPS, because they have no right to touch you, period,
right.
or bother you while you're getting medical attention brought for your child.
Right.
So there are.
Another thing I want to say about medical trafficking, there's also the problem of people having a baby. Your water bursts, you're down at the hospital, you have your baby, and lo and behold, the caseworker gets hold of a policeman and they come into your birthing room and steal your child. That's no. You can ask the doctor or the attending nurse, please get these people out of my room. Tell them in the lobby. They don't, unless they have a court order, a warrant, they can't do that.
And I've noticed a lot of
parents give up their children because they think it's the right thing to do.
Well, also these parents are going through, if they have a previous case or if they've lost their kids before, they have and I did find out that the case, the department does get a list of people. I mean, it's weird. Why would you? It's kind of like they're criminals or something. They get a list of people that have been in the hospital and having kids. They're having babies, and it's like part of that register. I don't know, but I've heard this before from a caseworker themselves. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that's not even fair. Like, that's like right there. That's kind of like trafficking our kids. Like, you're shopping. Oh, well, look, there's a so-and-so. That's a blue-eyed, blonde-haired baby. Oh, that's what we need. That's perfect. It's a newborn. That is so, just because that parent, what if they're with someone new? What if they have a new relationship, a new marriage, and they're started their life over? And they're still working on, that's not right. I don't think that's right. Just because
I agree.
Past is the past, but that doesn't mean give up on your children, by no means. No. But you shouldn't punish any parent for, I mean, people are already going through a lot as it is. I mean, life throws challenges at us every day. But when you like break up a family, divide a family up, I mean, if people had their own children, they would know what it, and then experience this firsthand. Like, it's kind of like losing a child. Like, if your child was to pass, like it's almost as much as that. I mean, but it's not nowhere near. I mean, but it is kind of like on that level. I mean, and that's how much it hurts. You're like hollow,
Well, an easy way to get away from police or social workers is if you meet them outside or they're talking to you somewhere, and all you have to do is use yes, no answers. But if it becomes really uncomfortable, tell them, excuse me, I need to talk to my attorney. That is your constitutional right. And when you say that, it's not like you're ignoring them, but you tell them it's time out. I'm going to talk to my attorney. We'll get back to you. You get their business card, and most policemen, all policemen and caseworkers have a business card. And if they don't, look at their badges. A policeman will have a badge number, and you have a name on his lapel on his shirt. The social worker will have an ID. You need to ask them because they're going to tell you, "Oh, I'm Jane Smith." Well, you call in, there's no Jane Smith there. The same thing can happen at the police department. There's a lot of deception takes place. And I'm sorry to say that bad about social workers and policemen, but of all the cases, I've heard on here, they're all saying this is what happens. And, we need policemen, we need social workers protecting our children, but we don't need social workers that think it's okay to be professional kidnappers. We don't need that. And we don't need Billy badass people in this world. We don't need to march down doors or threaten people. And I'm trying to tell you, policemen have a lot to deal with. They come up to the side of a car. They don't know if the guy has a gun right below the window. That's why I tell people, always put your hands at the top of the steering wheel, and look straight ahead. Look straight ahead. Don't look in the officer's eyes. They will trick you. Look over a social worker's eyes. They will try to intimidate you. These are little clues and little things that may help you. But I'm telling you right now, rule number one, you need to get an attorney to fight this. You won't be able to fight it by yourself or with a court-appointed attorney. And rule number three is say no to social workers, police. Do not give permission to take your child or come into your home. And if you're down at the hospital, don't give your baby away after birth. And don't give your children away after you just had them checked out. You're entitled to a second opinion. There's nothing wrong with a parent trying to get better care for the child. It isn't because refusing, because there's a lot of parents that believe in a lot of religion cults that say, doctors, they want to use holistic methods or something like that. That's different. That's different. If they, for instance, take a child back home and let the child die by not doing anything, then they're going to be held accountable for that action. So just because a parent doesn't want to follow the doctor at the hospital's orders or wants to send opinions, not a bad parent. I'm telling you that. Now, rule number two that I skipped over is the boring part because it's called paperwork. No one likes to do paperwork. And all of us sit there and collect all these papers, write little Post-it notes and have it strewn on envelopes and on notebooks, whatever it is. What I'm telling you right now, you need to organize everything is about CPS. You want to start at the beginning. You want to start at the beginning of your case. And you want to get a 6-inch notebook. And you say, why in the world 6 inches? Well, I got news for you. You're going to have a lot of paperwork to put in that notebook. And you want to stuff it with college rule notebook paper with the 3 holes in it and the lines. And then you want to buy dividers. These are subject dividers that you can write on the tabs, or you can type a thing, or have whatever your budget is. But you need to have dividers. And one of the first tabs you're going to make is something called incidents. Now, incidents are everything that involved with CPS, but also can be involved with the police or something else that might be related. So what you do is you list them in chronological date and time. And you list them one by one. And you list the date and time and then the people involved, like the social workers, the police, family or friends, whatever it is. You list those people to the right of the date and time. Then your next line is you're going to try to describe the incident. It may take you 2 or 3 lines to describe the incident, but you're going to say what the incident was about. They came into my home. I went to the social worker. The police stopped me on the road. Whatever the incident was, you write it down. Then after that, you want to put the outcome. That means the conclusion of the incident. Was it solved then or is it still open? You may have to come back to it 6 months later to fill it out. But you want to have enough space to write the conclusion. And then after that, you skip a couple lines, you put the next incident. The reason why I'm saying skip a couple lines is not because you have plenty of space, is that you may want to write notes there. And you want to use highlighters. Pink and yellow are good. And you highlight it and some things that can help you with you and your attorney or yourself when you look at it 6 months later. You're not going to remember anything. I was so bad. I did none of that paperwork. And I'm telling you, you need to do the paperwork. You need to write those incidents down. Furthermore, another tab could be all the programs and parenting classes that you're taking, the date and time that they were completed, the name of the course and so forth. Also, if you read certificates, you can put it in that section there. So that way, if you complete a program like alcohol, anger management, or you had some clinical therapy or psychotherapy, and you want to put those in there too. You want to have that full of that. And then the third subject is going to be your info section, where you find all the web pages, all the phone numbers, all the names, and who you can contact. That's your info. That's supposed to help you. And you want to write it down. You don't want to put it anywhere else. And then the remainder of the tabs, you put them any way you want. If you get court papers, you can put the case plan as another tab, the safety plan, the petition, the dependency petition. Anyway, you want to put your papers in there. And you want to punch holes in them. And you want to have it. That way it's in that big book. That big book would really be good. We just had Danielle lose power. She just went off the air. So Hopefully she'll be back. I don't know if she's having trouble in Georgia, or somebody out there is trying to tackle her or something there. So with that said, the paperwork is so important. So I've told you about the rules. I've told you about rule number 1, getting an attorney. Rule number 2 is do the paperwork. Rule number 3 is say no to social workers, don't let them in your home, and so forth. Don't forget the medical trafficking. And keep in mind, if you want to know how good social workers are, think of the Prescott, Arizona place of 8 social workers with 25 years experience that say on the front of their pink t-shirts, professional kidnappers. They are professional kidnappers. On the back of their shirt, they say, parents, do you know where your children are at? And then what they're implying is that they steal the children, which they actually do. It's for money. It's a $50 billion business. And that being said, they they get $20,000 per child per month. So that's way too much. They get extra money for foster care. They get extra money for special needs. They get tons of money, $50 billion. And, I really think there are people trying to fight CPS. And if any congressmen are listening, senators or representatives, please look into accountability. CPS should have a board of directors or supervisors or something to monitor how they spend their money. In Richmond, Kentucky, there was $140,000 that went unaccounted for, that the county in Richmond, Kentucky couldn't say where it was. They were doing an audit. I think there should be someone that is a watchdog of the way our government spends money. I know you don't like to hear that, but every so often you guys are out of money and you have to come up with creative ways of getting more money. And I'm telling some other examples. There's no reason why we should spend $1,000 for a toilet seat in the military. You got to watch where the money's being spent. There's a religious cult in Salt Lake, Utah, that's given millions of dollars to try to come up with an alternative fuel source. And they haven't produced one drop of fuel. And they get it every year. Congressman, you want to know where your money's at and why you don't have enough money. You need to audit all these government programs. And it's our money. And we can say that because we pay the taxes. Our money goes to help pay for all that. The money should be used for the need, the people that really need it. It should be accountable. They should never let the money, be the controlling factor with the CPS. They need to be controlled. They need to grow up. CPS has to be accountable. They got to be transparent. Now, there's a new thing I discovered the last couple of days is something about making sure that your county has reported your case to the state. And what I mean by that is that every CPS case the county draws up has to be reported to the state. And there's a number that's on your paperwork, and that's the number they use. And you need to look into it, because if they haven't done it, then you don't have a case. And you can get out of that by contacting the state and say that this particular county is not doing their job. It's a loophole I've found out lately. And that's from a lady named Carol from Indiana. She has lots of ideas of how to protect your civil rights and constitutional rights. She's not an attorney, but there's a lot of things you can do to fight your case. And all you that call in, I appreciate you calling in and listening and following me, like Rosemarie, Rochester, New York. I want so much for you to have good results with your court case coming up. And I hope that you're with your daughter in June for her first birthday. That's really important to me on that. Now, I've had my phone number up for over 49 minutes. I don't have any phone calls. If any that want to call in, it's free of charge. And you can talk about your case. Furthermore, I've had very few texting come in, which is okay, because I know that you may be, not, wanting to know what to say, but you can also text a message. I have it right there. When writing in your CPS case, please show your name, city, state, or country and be complete with your CPS case there. So, again, call in and we can talk about your case. I want to thank you all for your emojis, your thumbs up, your hearts, your smiles. I appreciate it. And all the listeners in here, I really want you to get your kids back. My case was really bad. And I don't want you going through that, especially when our social worker was a young girl without a college education who was acting like a clinical psychiatrist to give medication, and all she could think about was her Gucci purse, her eyelashes, her makeup, her clothes, and her BMW car that she's going to get with her bonuses that she got for keeping our children in the system. Once they grab your children, the money starts to roll in. The federal sends it to the state gives it to the county. But we can stop a lot of that if we put the county on check, and that you don't talk to them and you say no and so forth. That is really, really important there. But what happened is that our daughter was being adopted by the family of my wife, who was so corrupt. The lay people, they're the ones that called in for 5 years alleging physical abuse and neglect, which was unfounded. And then after the 5th year in 2015, they tricked me and grabbed our children and kept them in foster care until I got an attorney the following year with Vincent Davis. We got our 2 sons back. We didn't get our daughter because what has happened during the trial, our attorney cross-examined and proved that the social worker was lying. The question was, is there any domestic violence going on with your sister? And there was domestic violence. And the social worker knew about it and she lied. And she told, when she lost her case, she told me and my wife that you're never going to see your daughter again. And she told our daughter what to do. Now, at 12 years of age, you don't know these things about, changing your name, about sealing your birth certificate, about being adopted, about divorcing your parents, your brothers, your family members, grandfathers, and so forth. That's what her daughter did. And she was 12 years old at the time, and they can do that at 12. I think they should not do that to their age 18. I think 12 is way too young. And it's sad. She's 21 years right now. I know that she'd love to have a real mom and dad. I miss her terribly. Her birthday's coming up in July. July 9th is my daughter's birthday. Now, I have 6 children, 3 older ones and 3 younger ones. And I've been with my wife for 35 years. And it's a long time. And I'm 74 years old. I'm looking for work. I will find work soon. I know I will. I need to. And I want to help out others so they don't have to experience what I hurt. I hurt every day. I lost my home of 40 years that I worked so hard to get. I will get another home again. That's materialistic things. I will someday be back on my feet and paying. I've always wanted to take care of my family. I'm a family man. My family comes first. I always will defend them. I always will sacrifice things for them. Anyway, it sounds like tonight's not the night that people want to talk, which is okay. We sometimes get those things. And Danielle has lost the connection. I miss her already. She is a good co-host to have. But she's got some wonderful news. Her son, who's lost in the system, had special needs, and he his mother was the caretaker. I mean, his grandmother was the caretaker. And what had happened was Danielle's mother died. And they took her son and put him in foster care. And since he's a special need, and they did not try to contact the biological mother, Danielle shipped him over to Texas to get help. And while he's waiting there to get help, he turns 18. And the CPS still want to keep him. He is an adult. And right now, Danielle is trying to be a caregiver, be adopted her adult son to handle his special needs. She wants to be the caregiver for that child. She has her son who's 22. No, I'm sorry. She has her brother. And I forgot how old he is, but he's special needs. So she's a remarkable woman. So, so that tells you the difference between our case and Danielle's case. But she's going to get him back in the next couple of days. They promised her. So hopefully we'll hear some good news next week. In fact, some of you have some good news to tell me next week, which I hope. And, I want to thank all of you for listening to the show. God bless you. I want you to keep fighting for your kids. Don't give up. Do what they ask. Be nice and pleasant, but it's yes, no answers. And don't see them. Don't think they'll become your friends. Don't sign paperwork. They're going to try to make you sign paperwork. And if you don't like the judge or you don't like you can get rid of your public defenders. And if your judge is bad, you can go to the state, to the judicial complaint on the judge. You can complain against policemen. You can complain against social workers. There's a way you can do that. And, just don't let them take advantage of you. And I find that all of you that come to this podcast care about your children. And you deserve to be unified with your children. It's sad that an agency like CPS is so corrupt that they take your children for the pure pleasure of money. And hopefully I've given you enough cases or ideas about what to do about fighting CPS, the do's and don'ts. Don't forget the 3 rules I gave you. Don't forget that. Now, I'm going to be on again tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I love you all to come back again. Think about if you want to be on the show or call in or text me a comment. I want to thank Rosemary Lombardo from Rochester, New York, sharing what you say. Good luck, Rosemary. I want to thank Lori Miller for listening on the show. We had 2 of you today, so I want to thank you all. Anyway, just remember, I care about you, and I really want you to get your children back. And don't panic. Listen to what I said, and knowledge will be your cure, or your knowledge will be how you get your kids back. More research. Spend a lot of time on the internet. Look at it. Listen to podcasts. Listen to help. Anyway, I want to say God bless you all. And this is